Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the More Than Able podcast. I'm Margie, and you guys, this is kind of a big deal today because I have two producers. There's Jasmine, who kind of works behind the scenes, and my newest producer, Emily, who has kind of been helping me behind the scenes as well. But she's been a little nervous to get on the mic. But today, I've finally broken her down because it's another Q&A episode. So here's how this is going to work. You guys, most of you have sent in questions. Thank you. And Emily has compiled them and she's going to read them off to me. I've looked at the questions before and I will answer them the best I can. Hey, Em.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
Yay! So glad to have you. Okay. What's the first question?
All right. The first question is, what are some of your favorite memories?
I think that one came from Maddie. So thank you, Maddie, for that question. We don't have enough time for me to share.
Maybe in the last year.
Okay, last year. I'm going to be cliche and say continuing to grow in this podcast. And I'm excited for what's to come. I don't know what that is yet, but we're going to figure it out, right?
Yes.
So, all right. And then I think she had a follow-up question.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about hosting a podcast?
My favorite thing about hosting a podcast, talking to people. I am, as you know, and as you, my fellow podcasters and listeners know, I love hearing people's stories and talking to them, whether it's about past memories with them or just their stories in general, because that is my mission for this podcast, is to share people's stories who may not have another outlet to share, and sharing my story as well. So thank you, Maddie, for those questions.
All right. Next, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
That one was from Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. I've always wanted to travel to Europe. And my mom, shout out Mama Ann, she and I have talked about traveling to Europe ever since I was in high school. And I would just love to see that part of the world. Like, go to London, go to Paris, go to Rome, and see the sights. And not gonna lie, maybe indulge in a lot of Italian food, because I love me some Italian food. And just get to say, hey, I did this. And maybe not a lot of people do it or have done it. And I could come back and be like, hey, this is what I did. This is where I went. And maybe inspire other people to be like, hey, if Margie can do this, I can do this.
Great. So when should you tell an employer about your disability, before or during the interview?
Okay, that one came from Kelly, Parker's mom. And Emily, I'm going to have you weigh in on this because, well, first off, share a little bit about why I'm asking you to weigh in on this.
Yes. So I work as an employment support specialist. So I help people with disabilities find jobs that fit their interests and skills and needs. And then I work with them along the way to help maintain their jobs. So this is kind of in my wheelhouse.
Which is the other reason why I wanted her to be on this podcast. All right, so I'll just give my short answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on how comfortable you feel. And Emily, you and I were talking about this before. There are some people who feel comfortable sharing about their disabilities, whether it's on a podcast, in public speaking. But if you have a job or you want like a dream job, then if you feel comfortable disclosing your disability, I'd say go for it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think adding on, I definitely agree. If you're comfortable, go ahead. There's no rule saying you have to disclose. So if you don't want to tell your employer, even if it's a physical disability that they can technically see, you don't have to talk about it, and they legally cannot ask you about it. If you're someone who's going to have a job coach, it might help by saying like, I am going to have a job coach to help support me and make sure that I'm being safe and supported, but you don't have to go into further detail than that unless you want to. So it's completely up to you.
Awesome. Okay, next question.
All right, this one is from Kyle.
Oh, yes.
What advice would you give to someone interested in starting a podcast, but they're a little nervous to start?
That is a great question, Kyle. I'll be honest with you guys. I've been doing this for about a year, and I still get nervous when I do these podcasts. If you have a topic that you are interested in talking more about or interviewing people about like this, go for it. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Excuse me. Because I mean, I've personally come a long way. I mean, this podcast has grown and it's continuing to grow. Like, we have merchandise now. We're working on some other things. I'm going to be doing a couple public speaking engagements. I mean, there's no limit to how and like why you want to do a podcast. If you're interested in doing it, do it. And I mean, it'll take some time. You'll need to like find the right equipment, the right space, and if you want to do it with somebody, finding that partnership that works. And the content is going to be your biggest thing, because you not only want to do what you're interested in, but you want to focus on what other people are going to want to hear. Because, I mean, you'll only have like 10, 20, 30 minutes where you're going to have that audience just like locked in. Like, okay, I want to hear more about this. I want to keep listening to this. So, all right. And then the next, that kind of ties into the last one.
Yes. The last question. What are your goals for the future of the More Than Able podcast?
See, this is kind of big. And we don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. But, and Emily, you can kind of chime in here too. We want this to grow even bigger, maybe even into a business of some sort, right? Like, maybe it's more public speaking. Maybe it's, I think we talked about doing like a website or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big goal right now, is trying to figure out how to grow this podcast. And I have a great support system in you and Jazz and my mom and Callie and Ada and Tracy and my dad. And it's been really fun to kind of see, where this could go. I hope you all will stay tuned and come along on this journey with me and continue to come along on this journey with me, because I couldn't do this without the support of my family and my friends and my boyfriend Parker and his family. And I certainly couldn't do this without you all, the people who are listening. So, Emily, anything else to add?
No, I think we're just dreaming big. So we have some place to go. We want to build a community and show the world that they're more than able.
Absolutely. Well said, Emily. I think that's all the time we have for today. Emily, thank you for making your debut. Let's hope that you will continue to be behind the mic so everybody can hear your wisdom and your expertise. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Remember, you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at More Than Able Podcast, Instagram, more.thanable, and YouTube. Have a great day, everybody. And just remember, you're more than able.